You're watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source. Happy to have you with us. Tennessee loses kind of an ugly game yesterday, 67-61. The obvious question, did anyone check to see if Texas A&M deflated the basketball before the game? We'll discuss the game yesterday. We'll discuss plenty. This is a packed show with one of our favorite basketball analysts back with us now, so it should be a good one. Let's get right into it. First segment of our show brought to you by Phil Cobble, Fine Homes, and Land. And when you need a realtor, you want someone who has all the tools, the technology to sell your home. You want someone who has a track record. That's Phil Cobble's team. East Tennessee's leading realtor since 1980, specializing in properties in Farragut, North Shore, Choteau, Hardin Valley, plus Loudoun and Blount counties. You see the phone number right there, 675-7000. Phil Cobble, Fine Homes, and Land. All right, I said it was going to be a packed show. Let me show you what we're doing today. Vols fall to Texas A&M. That's our first topic. Then, Tennessee loses an offensive coordinator in Mike Bajakian. Why did he leave? How much damage will it do? Recruiting impact. How much has it hurt there, or has it hurt at all? Offensive coordinator candidates. A lot of rumors that a man's already been hired. Not the case. We'll talk about that. Transfer issues. How many players are getting out of UT's football team and why? The Marcus Ford episode. It was not the prettiest thing. Will it blow back on Tennessee at all? Look who's back. Bruce Pearl returns to Knoxville on Saturday for a game with the Vols. Who's going to get the louder cheer in that game when they're announced? Donnie Tyndall or Bruce Pearl? That'll be a topic too. We got a lot of stuff today, and let's introduce the panel right over here. This is a hoops specialty gang we got right here. Mike Strange from the Knoxville News Sentinel. Always happy to have him. Back in town for our yearly get-together. Always good to have you for a month or so. Don DeVoe, former Tennessee coach, winner of more than 500 college basketball games, which is a hell of an achievement. Right there, Mark Pankratz, former Vol staff member, former Division I basketball player himself. Houston Fancher down there, former Vol staff member and former longtime head coach at Appalachian State. Guys, great to have you here, and Mark Pankratz is giving me the look. They have a podcast, Coach's Corner, that you can find, sportsanimal99.com. Houston and Mark doing that. Who's your guest this week?
You'll have Coach Pearl, as long as that loss doesn't derail him from showing up.
Oh, wow.
That'll be good.
Bruce
doesn't
Pearl,
back out on us, yeah.
If he's not stinging from the Alabama game last night, he'll be on with you guys. Coach's Corner, sportsanimal99.com. All right. Tennessee loses 67-61. It was a win streak snapped. They had been playing very well. They started out fantastic on the road. Problem seems to come when you come back home. Alabama a couple weeks ago, Texas A&M this time around. Thoughts on what went wrong, and I'll just throw it out there and let you guys go at it.
Well, I think it started with our energy. I think the reason this team has been so good is because we've played with that effort. And there were times where we'd get into a trap, we'd make that initial play, and then our rotation just wasn't there. I think we can all gravitate towards offensive, not shooting the ball well, but I think it started with our effort and energy.
I was going to say, I think a couple of stats really point that out. Number one is the points in the paint. I scored 30-10 in the paint, and I scored 10-0 on fast break points, and that's transition offense and defense and rebounding, which are energy stats. Those are things that you can control. You can't control if it's always going to go in the basket, but you can control how you rebound the basketball, and you can control how you get back offensively and defensively into your positions.
And I thought Texas A&M just looked really comfortable on offense and defense, but particularly moving the ball. I just didn't think Tennessee made them uncomfortable. And Tennessee's the home team with a big crowd and that energy they normally play. They just, to me, they didn't bother Texas A&M.
Don?
John, I would say that Billy Kennedy is just a very experienced basketball coach. His team is well poised. They were not bothered whatsoever by Tennessee's multiple defenses during the course of the game. This was a game where Tennessee was not ever able to really get control of the game because they only led for about a minute and 33 seconds the entire game. So when you're not able to get the lead in a home game and your defense is not getting the other team to rush or take bad shots, and again, Billy Kennedy is an outstanding coach as well as Donnie Tyndall, but let me tell you, this team was well coached. They handled the ball extremely well. They got the ball, as you said, coaches, out of the traps, forced points, and I think Tennessee just couldn't get a grip on the basketball game. It was a well-coached game by both coaches, but You know, when you're playing a team that shoots the ball as they were, 70% shooting, and they only missed 8 shots from the floor in the second half. You know, I don't know how you're going to win.
Hard to win those games,
especially when you get beat on the boards. You know, Tennessee got beat on the boards yesterday badly.
And that's something we've talked about even before Donnie Tyndall came here. You look back through his 8 years previously at Southern Miss and Morehead State, and it didn't matter how tall his teams were. They always either led their conference in rebounding or in the top 2 or 3 in conference in rebounding. And you've seen a little bit of that this year, that they don't have any bigs in there. It's not like they should be yanking rebounds, but they've rebounded pretty well in some of these games. And it's all effort. And you can kind of tell when it's a day that they're not rebounding well and they didn't start well. A&M owned the glass early yesterday, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of the game, I thought.
And for what it's worth, you know, we've made a lot about Donnie Tyndall's system being a little bit different, a little unusual, and causing problems. Well, Billy Kennedy knows. Yeah. I mean, they went against each other in the Ohio Valley Conference a number of times, and Billy Kennedy has a pretty good record against Donnie Tyndall. He
was not surprised by what he saw at all. That's a great point.
Well, and the other thing he did defensively, this team has struggled against zone, and most teams, we've made a first possession, we've made a 3, or we've gotten to the rim, and a coach, if that's their natural defense, they pull out of it quick because they don't buy into it. Andy Kennedy, we scored first against their zone defense, and they stuck with it. And all of a sudden, we missed a couple early shots, and we got back on our heels, and we ended up shooting the majority of our shots from 3.
And for us, John, I think we watch them score inside. You know, there's short shots, short rebounds. You know, they didn't shoot long shots to force long rebounds, and that's where we get hurt around the rim. And there's some difference makers on that team. Caruso, Jalen Jones, they've got Daniel House, guys that can play. And there's some grown-up guys, just like Alabama was, and that's what gave us problems with Alabama. We were playing against some grown men with what I thought were young, inexperienced kids.
Let me flash forward to the next game, and that's at Arkansas. Tennessee took care of Arkansas here. The Razorbacks were ranked at the time. It was an impressive win for Donnie Tyndall's team. They were coming off that bad loss to Alabama. But if you go back and you look at Mike Anderson's history at Missouri and at Arkansas, his teams are very poor on the road. I've got a friend, it's not Chuck, who likes to gamble, always bets against Mike Anderson on the road. Mike Anderson at home, in that arena, different beast. Thoughts on Tennessee and this team going into Arkansas? And Arkansas's had a look at you now. They've seen this defense. Thoughts about trying to go into Arkansas and pull another victory, Mike?
I think this is a tough one. You don't go to Rupp Arena this year. Going to Bud Walton and this Arkansas team might be the toughest road game they face.
I would say this about the particular game is that, you know, Tennessee has an advantage in that they are the only team in the SEC right now that has won 3 games on the road. Be it, of course, that the teams, you know, they're probably some of the weakest teams in the Southeastern Conference this year, but they've won on the road, and you know they're over that hill. Now they got to be able to control the tempo. This is where the old shot clock, you know, really hurts you when you're on the road, because now Arkansas wants to play that up tempo, and when they get their fans going and their team going, they're really tough to handle. I kind of like the old days when you had the shot clock. You go on the road, and you know what? You got the basketball. You know, they have to play you the way you want them to play.
Right,
you know? So
they chase you.
Then you don't take bad shots. I'm afraid that Arkansas will be led into some pretty bad shots from time to time.
Well, and the thing too is Josh Richardson does the numbers that he's being asked to play minute-wise. How is that affected with another quick turnaround? Because this is 2 games in a row where Josh hasn't been at his best, and so is he starting to wear down because he's been having to play 38 minutes a game?
You can't take him out. Houston, you finish this up.
I think that is important, but they had 3 or 4 days going into this game to get him prepared and get him rested a little bit. So that could be a condition. And if you look at us, we played 4 guys over 30 minutes. They played 9 guys that made solid contributions for him yesterday.
That's a huge difference. All right, when we come back, Jimmy Hyams joins us, and we're going to be talking about the departure of Mike Bajakian, Tennessee's offensive coordinator, heads to the NFL. Why did he leave? What kind of damage could it mean, if any, to the Tennessee program? Come on back on the Sports Source.
Like our set? Turn to Benedict Construction.